Welcome, Misfits, to the first.
That.
All right, starting over.
Let's go.
Hey, Misfits. We are here with Seth, Matt, Drew, myself, Gabe, for the Rewind first edition of Ask the Misfits.
Remix. Ask us.
Ask the Misfits.
You won't ask us questions.
We know you guys got some
you.
questions. We want to do our best to answer them and get information out to you. So here we go. What do we got first?
We're going to start with the Instagram questions. Jimmy John 9052 asks.
That's his real name?
Jimmy
John.
Yeah,
All
Jimmy
right.
John. And we don't know if he's the sandwich guy or the sausage guy.
It's definitely a sausage guy.
Jimmy Dean?
Shit.
Your face.
In your face, loser.
What's
Love
his
his
question?
subs. Love his
First
subs.
of all, I want to apologize to Jimmy Dean.
Jimmy Dean or Jimmy John?
Jimmy John.
No, to Jimmy Dean. I can't even say the question now.
All right,
Other
what
than the
is it?
warm-up posted, what do you guys do for warming up? Especially if you break up the workout into 2 different sessions during the day.
I mean, I think it's important if you do 2 sessions that you make sure that you get yourself ready to go each time through getting your heart rate up and addressing your mobility concerns. Personally, when I go to the gym, I have a kind of a checklist that I address each time. I have tight ankles, I have tight hips. So every session starts with that. You can speak to this more, but when you initially started creating warm-ups, it was just to give people an idea of what to do, but it's not the end-all be-all. And some people take what we write down as like end-all be-all. It's all you should do, but it's more to it than that.
No, it's just to make sure that people don't use the first piece of the day as their warm-up.
Use the bitch work. I love warming up with it.
I tried to make it as oversimplified as possible. It's just kind of relevant to that day, but it's really, it's not overly important if you have things that work better for you.
So you make sure that the first time that your heart rate goes through the roof isn't during the Metcon. You make
Correct.
sure your mobility's there.
Yeah, for me, it's, hit the couple joints. It's the ankles.
You were supposed to
the
stop
hips.
talking there. That was we were
Yes.
wrapping it up.
Correct.
Okay.
Wrapped
Yeah.
up. Next.
Next question. Dawid DCF.
Get
Camp in
outta
Europe
here.
next
Is that how you
year.
say it?
I don't know how to say it.
Dawid.
DAWIII DCF.
Daw the third DCF.
Hi, David.
Oh, okay.
Sweden.
Camp in Europe next year, question mark. We need applications, and then we need the applications to actually be the owner of the gym.
Right.
And we need it to be like a viable place to go. But we love to travel.
Love
we
to
love to
go.
meet new Misfits.
We love Europe.
Host a camp, link on the website.
been.
That's how you get started with all that.
Piece of cake.
Next question, Logan55 Frey. Why do you not place more of an emphasis on front squats when so much of the open is anterior loaded, i.e. thrusters,
You know those?
Trust us.
Toasters.
wall balls, and squat cleans?
Well, I assume he must mean in the strength portion, because if you looked at the Metcons conditioning and everything else, even accessory stuff, it's all front-loaded stuff, almost
many.
always, every single day. He named 2 out of like 12 movements that we would load in the front. So I assume the question, I'm going to have to assume the question is, why don't we do more front squatting in the strength work? And I think Drew and I have both addressed this many times in the past. Basically, the front squat is more of an accessory to a squat in general. The strength work is to get you strong. The way you get strong is by back squatting and pulling. So the front squat, you can load anteriorly a little better, but we only need that, as far as heavy, super heavy loading once a week, or maybe even less, because we are giving you guys squat cleans, snatches, the wall balls, trustas, and all the other movements in there as well. It's just we're always loading the front in CrossFit, and you don't need to overkill it in the strength work as
I mean,
well.
you're not tested on a 1 rep max front squat very frequently anyway in CrossFit, so all that stuff applies better anyway.
And if you are, it's in a squat clean, not a front squat.
Well, and
right?
then
So-
I feel like the asterisk here is if I'm coaching an athlete, or if someone gets in touch with us in their front squat technique, form, mobility, whatever is really bad, we'll work it there.
Right.
And we might even add weight. We might even go to, like we have on the website right now, pause front squats.
Correct.
But that's a little bit more of like a personalization, like you need to figure out a skill. So then if that's the case, then you can take it and apply it to every gymnastics piece. It's sort of the same thing.
Correct. And we're doing, like you said, pause front squats that addresses specific issues at the bottom. It takes away someone's ability to rely on a bounce, and it builds the strength in the bottom position. It builds the mobility in the bottom position. It builds the stability in the bottom position. All those things that kind of get ignored if you just put front squats in there and people bounce as hard as they can to get out of the hole. It's not really getting them that much stronger. So, boom.
Done.
Roasted.
Thomas Ray Woods. Sup, Thomas? Know anyone who's tried Go Mad, gallon of milk a day? What do you think of it? You've tried it.
I did it.
How'd it go?
Well.
Tell me.
So it went terribly. I could never really finish the gallon like any of the
What's
days.
the most you got?
I got a gallon
Sherb's laughing at this. Sherb could do 2 gallons.
I mean,
Sherb did a gallon of milk an hour.
I did it for like
Chocolate
probably,
milk, does that count?
Yeah.
All right,
I think I did it for like 2 weeks, and I only finished the full gallon like 4 times out of the 2 weeks. And every day my stomach hurt so bad. I felt like I was carrying 10 extra pounds on me at all, because I actually was at all times.
Fuck.
And I didn't know that I have like an
Milk
affliction with allergy. Yeah, with milk. I have a milk allergy that's really
Drink
causing
this
me
poison.
problems.
The
Now
gallon
I've
of
had
milk
surgery
a day
twice due to
caused your milk
allergies.
allergy.
So it's really not recommended at all.
I mean, essentially, you use macronutrients, some sort of ratio to gain weight, right? You get to choose what foods that comes
Correct.
from.
Yeah.
And if you want to make it one of the most inflammatory foods
Yeah, I was
possible,
just saying.
chug skim milk.
I
That's
think I was doing whole too.
yeah.
It's a little better.
Because I was all about the calories. I thought it was and this was almost 10
But
years
still,
ago.
if you
It was like trying to
if
gain
you
weight.
actually tried to if you went to some farm and said, "Give me a gallon," how much would that cost?
Well, it would cost
A gallon of
Oh, you're looking at
raw
skimming the
whole-
top.
Yeah,
probably
geez.
$8.
That's
Yeah.
going to be the only way that the inflammation isn't through the fucking roof.
But I also think that's why people do that, is because they realize how many calories are in a gallon of whole milk, and it's not easy, but it's more manageable to get your calories through liquid. But it's just, if we're taking this seriously as far as fitness is concerned, it's the worst way you could possibly get your calories. So I don't
And
even.
if we're not taking it seriously, you need to get yourself a different color underwear.
Yeah,
Just to make sure that if anybody ever maybe gives you like a hoedown or something.
STA brown underwear.
Yeah, exactly.
Coming soon.
STA brown underwear coming soon to make sure that you can do Go Mad and not have
Go mad undies.
Go Mad stains. Okay. Nate's_beard, a right and a wrong way to use Imams to build capacity. Sure, go.
I mean, everyone
What do you
knows.
mean?
Everyone knows the person that does an imam on like their active rest day, because they can move through some things and it's not super intense. They get their hips loose, but then sometimes that gets taken into training, and people are like, "All right, I'm going to do 2 GHD sit-ups and 5 calorie row alternating for an hour." It's not very challenging. A lot of people use this. I think egregiously, to the point where they're not actually getting a good training stimulus. And I think that's one thing you do really well when you put imams together. Sometimes it's like, hey, that might not be so bad, and then it's terrible. Or every once in a while, it's like, I don't know if you could do this, but we're going to find out if we can.
Yeah.
I just think there's a right and a wrong way to do imams, and it's making sure that you still are testing your capacity each time. It's not a comfortable.
Well, and he
like,
does
walk apart.
ask specifically build capacity. So muscle endurance is different than building capacity through breathing heavy. So what would be an example of a way to build handstand push-ups versus doing better on the bike?
Well, I mean, if I was looking at handstand push-ups specifically, I would find a set. See, that's hard to program for the masses, because
Right.
that's
Yeah,
so
yeah.
different for everybody. So if it was one athlete individually, I'd find a set that athlete could do over and over again, and what that time period needs to be that they need to recharge before kicking back up on the wall. So maybe it's max reps in 20 seconds. I'm giving you 40 seconds because you can do a decent chunk in that next 20 seconds the following minute. Maybe it's 10 or 15 reps, and I know as the minutes go on, you're going to get less and less rest, because it's going to take more and more sets to finish it. You have to know the athlete to do a real effective imam, to be able to make sure that they're not just running into the next minute over and over again, or that you're not giving them not enough where they're just standing around for 10, 20 minutes. They're tough to do
What
for the
about
masses.
capacity if he means I want to use an imam to literally get in better shape?
I mean, the opportunities are kind of endless there. It's just a matter of knowing what there's too many goals to, I think, make it generalized, but the point of an imam to me is to be able to do X amount of work in a minute and give you a minute to be able to transition and recover to then go hard again the next minute on the next movement. So it's a matter of finding balance. The point of what you're trying to accomplish can vary. If you're doing, let's say, bike sprints versus longer distance work, like a bike sprint, you might only give someone 10 seconds to go all out, 15 seconds to go all out, because they're going to need the full 50, 45, whatever to recover to even give you close to that effort again. And a lot of times, I mean, we do imam every 2, every 3, every 4 minutes,
cycle,
because the more intense you go, if you want someone to hit that intensity over and over and over again, you have to give them the ability to recover. To just bury them into the floor with less and less rest over an extended period of time, yeah, they might learn something about how they perform under fatigue, but if there's a certain training stimulus you're trying to achieve, the less and less rest they get, the further and further away they are from accomplishing.
I would
that.
say generally, if you're looking at a EMOM like that, if you get under 20 seconds of a rest, you basically turn that into more of a steady state. It's hard to go.
You'd have to.
Yeah, it's hard to go hard for 40 seconds, have less than 20 seconds or 20 seconds or less of rest, and then go hard again.
Unless it was like 3 times.
Technically impossible.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you're looking at that, keep it under. I mean, closer to 30 seconds or under. And
It's probably way harder to write an effective EMOM than it is to write a simple Metcon.
Right.
So you really have to
Personally,
think about it.
With my athletes, I use EMOMs for like accessory pieces. Like I
Yeah.
have a couple athletes that
Low
struggle
intensity,
struggle with
volume.
muscle up
Yeah,
sets
yeah.
or struggle with handstand push-ups, and EMOMs are perfect for them.
Yeah.
But if you're using that as like your only way of going to attack a training piece, I think you're missing a lot.
And
Imams are such an easy way to create a scoreboard for yourself. It's
Yeah.
like it was 3 this week, then it was 4 this week. So
That's
that
true.
could
good for
technically
progression.
apply to burpees or something like that if you wanted to, but it has to be a pretty rudimentary.
I also think that people choose EMOMs a lot because they feel secure in them. It's a safety
Safe,
thing
yeah.
because, like, I know I don't ever have to push to the point where now I'm extremely uncomfortable and I don't know how I'm going to handle the next 4 or 5 rounds if
pick a
there's
rep
no
scheme
structure.
that you know you can hit.
I think they're sometimes they're too safe, or if people are really getting aggressive and they're one of those people like to show off online about what they did, they try some EMOM that's just not manageable, and then they basically ruin all their
You know
training.
who loves EMOMs? Emily Smith, 15.
Why is
Emily's got 2 Y's. She wants to know, how should you approach percentage work for lifting when you're not as strong as you were when you hit your current 1 rep max? I took a break from lifting, and now when I go around 80 to 85%, I just don't feel strong enough to go any heavier. Emily, if you're following our programming, please do test week. That will allow you to get that new max. Hopefully it's higher. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's lower, and you use that percentage. If you jumped in the middle of a cycle, the percentages don't really make that much sense anyways.
No.
So just be in the neighborhood. Make sure you're moving fast, moving clean, and you're going to get stronger anyways. So
Yep. Yeah, consistency would be the key there.
these questions are from the blog. So for future episodes, you guys will post something on Instagram. You can post there, or the night before we do it on the blog, you can post your questions to comment. This one is from Chris Cross. Chris, I have to know whether you wear your pants forwards or backwards, and if it's backwards, what is it like to have the zipper like where your butt crack is?
Probably convenient.
Or like the buttons back. Can you imagine getting the buttons just right? Or do you put it on? I don't know. Chris Cross
You think when he
asks.
does burpees, he does the jump?
Oh my God.
Anyone? I feel like that was just lost.
Jump,
Damn it.
Jump.
Okay.
I was
Someone got
wondering
it.
if he was going to be laying down on his back at first. I didn't understand the joke.
Their only song is Jump Jump. Wow.
What did he
sorry.
ask?
Whoa.
Did you even ask a question, Chris Cross, or you just have
Whoa.
crazy clothes and burpees? Okay. As a recreational athlete, local competition level, who feels sometimes overwhelmed by the volume of the blog? How do I adequately reduce volume to maximize the outcome of my training?
I believe you got your question answered on the blog by Steve Smarridge, and forgive us, his diplomacy wasn't very.
It's never
What'd he
the
say?
best.
He was a little straight to the
I
point.
guess.
But there was some truth to his answer in there. We do have a hatchet program that is awesome for somebody just like this.
And if you cannot
Yeah.
afford the hatchet program, we start with mandatory pieces, and we make sure we scale them for intensity.
Yeah. The Hatchet program is only like the cost of your Hulu and Netflix account added together, though. So,
It's true.
I mean, when people say I can't afford it, it's like,
Can you?
come on.
And just so you know, we had a few questions. People were like, why is the hatchet in the most expensive tier? It actually isn't. It's in
true.
the pro tier now. It got moved. So there you go. Ryan Sarah Koski. Now, I don't know if this is Ryan and Sarah Koski,
It's got
or
it.
if Ryan's middle name is actually Sarah.
His parents could not have done that to him.
Boy named Sue. I mean, maybe it's one of those
Yeah.
things.
Wow.
Like you want, you've named me Sarah, you motherfucker. Okay.
All right, here we go.
Did your dad ever say that before?
Yeah, my dad's name's Claire, so I get this. I understand, Ryan, Sarah. When is team training coming back? Somebody else answer this question.
I got it. Okay, so we pulled team training before even the start of cycle 1 this year because we felt without knowing the teams, who's on them, what their goals are, what their background is, we weren't really delivering much of a product at all, just making random partner teams of 3, teams of 6 workouts. They're somewhat effective, and you can maybe start to build teamwork with them. But for a big picture, like that's not the road we want to send people down cycle 1 instead of getting them really fit by just following the individual stuff, so on and so forth. However, things have changed now. It's teams of 4. We have had many discussions about how we can actually put out a good product that'll be effective for these more condensed, higher level teams. We are in the works of putting something together. We don't know when it'll be ready. There are a lot of changes coming. We assume at the very least we will do regionals team stuff and games team stuff like we always have in the past. But as far as just putting something out on the blog, it's really not that effective. I'd be lying to you if I said that I was going to steer you in the right direction with that. It's too general. It's too vague. We've also talked about doing remote coaching with teams, which can get you some real direct improvements there. I mean, depending on what your team needs. So that's the deal with the team stuff. It's off the website. We're making changes. We're trying to improve it. We're trying to put something good out there. We don't just want to sell some piece of garbage that's just floating around the internet for no reason. We're putting something together that's going to be effective. So that's what we're working on.
Boom. Chris.
Bohe?
The O's got a line through it.
Bohe.
Chris Bohe.
What?
The O's got
Boji.
Chris.
Oh.
B-O with a line, J-E.
I bet Arnie would know what that is.
He would. And it would be just a sound that we can't make.
Yeah, that's true.
It's boy.
Chris
It's boy.
Chris Boye
Can't say any last
asks,
names.
last week I couldn't hit the squat percentages. What should I have done? Fewer reps, same weight, or scale the percentages back to the week before? I have no idea how to approach this. I think this one's pretty cut and dry. We want to stay in the same rep scheme because that rep scheme is sort of the idea behind the cycle. We just dial the percentages back. I don't find with athletes that they act maybe as much like a baby when it comes to strength work as they do with Metcons.
Yeah.
So I'll say, like, let's make sure that we're confident and, like, moving properly. And if the percentages have to change a little, it really doesn't matter. It's not a big deal.
No.
I don't say that for Metcons because then that's just an excuse. Coach said to just make sure I was comfortable and happy during Metcons.
Right.
But
Take that class.
make sure that you are moving properly and with a little bit of intensity, a little bit of speed, and you can't go wrong with strength work.
Roasted. Everyone's been roasted.
We
Boom
did it.
roasted to everybody. Okay. I think that's it for Volume 1 of Ask the Misfits. How often are we going to do this?
Let's do it every week.
Every week?
Let's try to do it every week.
Oh, my God. That's a major commitment that we're making to you. We'll do our best. You'll see many more of these episodes, so keep the questions coming. And thanks for watching. Until next time, like, subscribe, do all that sweet YouTube stuff, and see you later.